Hi cuties. Today we're going to talk about how I've invested $150,000. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. It feels like just yesterday I filmed how I invested $100,000. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I saved and invested $100,000 by age 28. I can't believe that I'm making this video. So if you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend going to check that out. How I invested $100,000 by age 28. Spoiler alert, I'm now almost 31, which that's a whole other thing that we probably need to talk about. But today I'm going to be talking about my top tips for investing a ton of money as early as possible, and also how I went from $100,000 invested to $150,000 invested in just a couple of years. And before we get into this, I do want to acknowledge that I have a lot of privilege. I spoke about this in my first video and I feel like I summed it up quite well. I want to acknowledge that I do have a lot of privilege and there's a lot of things that have helped me get to where I am today, and I'll name them. Let's go through them and just get it out on the table because I think it's really important for me to acknowledge my privilege. Growing up, I was always well cared for. My parents were well off. They both had successful careers. My father passed away when I was younger, so I was only 6 when he passed away. I don't exactly know the details of that, but I know that, you know, he left us some money, but I didn't have 2 parents working growing up. But I was well cared for, never were wanting for much. The way that I grew up and my family situation provides me a lot of privilege. My parents paid for my entire university, so I am university educated. I got a degree. That is something that really helped me with my entire career journey and my financial journey. A couple of other things, my parents gifted me a vehicle when I was in high school. I still currently drive that vehicle, so I've been driving that vehicle for 13 years now, which means that I haven't had, you know, any monthly car payments. The only expenses I've had is maintenance on the vehicle, gas, and insurance. That vehicle was gifted to me, and not having the monthly transportation costs really helped me keep my expenses relatively low. Born in North America gave me a certain level of privilege, and I just want to acknowledge that before getting into this because it's a bit hard to talk about something and to be giving tips and advice on things where I know that not everyone is starting at the same point. If you're starting from a point where you're in debt and you need to be, you know, you need to get to zero and then you can start saving and investing, that's going to be a very different journey than mine. The world is unfair and I really wish that I could give everyone a level playing field. I wish that everyone had access to education and be able to go to university without going into significant debt. I would be a complete fraud if I came here and didn't acknowledge my privilege before talking about this subject. So, you know, there are many factors that have made me privileged, and we all have different starting lines in life. And so if you're watching this and you're feeling discouraged that you're not at the same place as me, just know that, you know, we are all given different tools and different sets of circumstances that really influence our journeys. And so if you're watching this video, you're already on the right path because you're wanting to learn. So I really want this to be like a positive, safe space and not to be something that you are feeling bad about yourself on. So the only reason why I even share the number is so that people will watch this video. Like, you know, we got to play the YouTube game where we're trying to get people to click into the video, and that's what this big number gives us. But the heart of this video is like really, truly honest, in my opinion, humble advice of how to get started on this journey. So let's just dive into what I think has really helped me. So number one is I got really serious about this goal. When I first started learning about personal finance just a handful of years ago, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is like the answer to security. And for me, my big why is that I deal with depression and anxiety, and I always have this fear that I'm not going to be able to work and I'm not going to be able to bring in income. And so investing to me is like my safety blanket. Now, you want to have an emergency fund outside of your investments because if an emergency happens, you don't want to have to sell off your investments because you want to keep your investments invested. That's how you're going to reap the rewards. But for me, money equals safety and security. And a lot of people are going to feel this way about money. A lot of people maybe don't view money that way. But for me, this was like my why. And I got like very clear on that I want to take care of me. No matter what happens in my life, I want to be able to sustain a lifestyle and support myself no matter what happens. And if I am to go through a mental health challenge again, the last thing I want on my mind is money. So that was really like the driving factor for me. So I think you have to get clear on why you're doing this, because it's really easy to get your paycheck and to want to spend it on things other than investing. And you're only really going to make progress towards a big goal if you have a why. And I know that that's like really cliche to say, but like that's number one. Like you just have to figure out why you're doing this. For me, as like a very logical person, when I started reading about like the power of compound interest and how time is on your side and you can literally make up hundreds and thousands of dollars by investing as early as possible. So like my logical brain was like, okay, I need to get serious about it now so that I can like ease off the gas pedal later in life. And so it just made sense to me. So learning and consuming content about investing and about the power of compound interest is also going to help you fuel this journey. So that's kind of where I would start. My second tip is you have to set it and forget it. So you have to set up automatic investments. For me, I would say that this has probably contributed the most to investing so much money. It's just set up for me. So a lot of personal finance experts will recommend that you invest 10 to 15% of your gross income towards retirement. And I like to do a little bit more than that, but figure out that number. And then for each paycheck, when you know your pay is coming in, have that automatically go into your TFSA if you're Canadian, or your RSP if you're Canadian. I'm Canadian. And I do mine through Wealthsimple. So I've been investing with Wealthsimple basically since the beginning of my investing journey. And I've absolutely loved my time with Wealthsimple. And there's lots of different products out there and you don't have to use Wealthsimple. I don't really care what you use. I'm talking more so about like the mindset in this video. The technical tips and the tactical things like you can learn elsewhere because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a regular girly. So having it automatically taken out of your account just means you don't have to think about it. And then what I do is when I have additional income come in, I like to invest that money also. So I'm topping it up. So I'm not investing just what is like automatically coming off of my paycheck. Where the magic like really happens is having the auto investments on, and then also whenever possible, like sometimes I will invest $20, $50 here and there because I'm just constantly trying to feed it. And I'm not keeping a lot of money in my checking account because I've got my emergency fund, I've got my sinking fund set up for whatever I need to, and then I've got my investments. And I'm just constantly feeding my investments, and that's when you're gonna see your money grow. When it's in the market, so it's growing through the market, but you're also just constantly feeding it. So you have to figure out a system that works for yourself, and that really works for me. The third thing is the age-old saying, time in the market, not timing the market. So again, investing is made out to be like very complicated, but it's actually really not that complicated if you learn the basics. And I started investing when I was like a teenager. My mom set me up, but like really truly started investing probably 3 years ago. And I mean, the market's pretty hot right now. And so it all depends on like when you start investing. But the more money you have in your investments, the more return you're gonna get. And investments go up and they go down, they go up and they go down. You have to be okay with seeing that. But my investments right now are up like I think $18,000. And so between 100,000 and 150,000, I really only like saved, 132,000. The other 18,000 was like capital gains. I mean, those are not realized yet because I haven't sold off my investments, but you just want time in the market. And that's when I learned about personal finance, I was like, I have an advantage here because I'm young and I'm learning about this. And so if I just get serious for a couple years, then like I'm good, you know, and it just kind of like builds on itself. And so you have to start that momentum. So the momentum starts with figuring out why you're doing it. The momentum builds with automatic investments and topping things up. And then the real magic happens when you just leave it alone in the market. You don't sell your investments for the long run. So disclaimer, you don't want to be investing money that you need within the next couple of years. You invest for the long term because that's where you're going to see your returns. And it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And so you don't want to need the money when it's in a down period. So those are my top 3 tips. I mean, honestly, now that I like say it, I'm like, it's pretty simple. Those 3 things have made it so it's been really quite easy for me to hit this next milestone. And I'm really excited to get to that 200,000 mark because I know that it's going to come really quickly here. I actually could be at that 200,000 mark, but I have earmarked a big chunk of change to buy a new car. And so I'm so proud of the progress that I've made. I've increased my income in a couple of different ways. I've really gotten serious about investing. I have sacrificed a lot. I've sacrificed a lot of like lifestyle factors. And that's the other thing too. Like you may see your peers, you know, living in a fancy luxury apartment. You may see them buying a new car. You may see them like, you know, traveling a bunch. And these are all things that cost money that we are all choosing what to do with our money. And I like to live in balance. Like I don't want to ever be suffering to invest as much money as possible because my investing journey is to give myself quality of life, and I want quality of life now and in the future. So you don't want the pendulum to swing too far, but you have to get serious about it. You know, you have to choose where your money is going to go, and you also have to work on increasing your income because the more money you have coming in, the more you have to play with and the more you can allocate to investing while also taking care of your bills and other things. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. If you have any like wins about your financial journey, I would love for you to comment them in the comments so we can all get like inspired together. And if you have any other requests for any videos for me to film, I would absolutely love to film them. I am excited to when I can film my 200K investing videos. I still can't even believe it when I say that number out loud, but I'm very proud of myself. You can do it too. It just like really takes a lot of dedication and like self-love. To me, this is really like a self-love journey. So I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.
But if we turn the clocks back a couple dials, we should throw them out, because time ain't ours, oh, but you feel